Hello everyone, I am Nivedita Jana from Ambika Prasad Research Foundation. Welcome to all of you to our channel, Biodiversity and Conservation. So today the topic is about the food web. Previously we have discussed about the food chain and its significance, and today is the topic about food web and its types and significance. So let's start. So first, we are going to discuss about the introduction of a food web. So a food web is a graphic representation of a holistic, non-linear web of primary producers, primary consumers, and higher level consumers used to describe ecosystem structure and dynamics. In nature, the food chains are not strictly linear, but are interrelated and interconnected with one another to form a network. The interlocking of many food chains is called food web. In terms of the trophic species concept, a food web has been defined as a collection of trophic species together with their feeding relationships. Earlier studies on food webs sometimes considered only parts of community food webs, for example, that part that supplies food to a particular species or that depends upon particular species for food. Nowadays, however, majority of studies of food webs consider community food webs. A food web may have all or some of the three types of food chains, that is, detritus, predator, and parasitic, which have discussed in our previous part of EVS. So here is an example of a food web. So as represented, a typical food web of a grassland ecosystem is shown in this figure. In the given example, in the grassland ecosystem, grass is eaten by grasshoppers, rabbit, and mouse. Grasshopper is eaten by ledger, which is eaten by hawk. Rabbit is eaten by hawk. Mouse is eaten by snake, which is eaten by hawk. In addition, hawk also directly eats grasshoppers and mouse. Thus, there are 5 linear food chains, which are interconnected to form a food web. The component food chains can be represented as shown in this figure. Increased food web complexity leads to rapid increases in the pathways available for energy to flow from basin to top species. In general, the more complex a food web is, the more stable a community or ecosystem should be. Small waves exhibit cyclic population fluctuations in both natural and modern systems. Food webs aid in the understanding of processes that aid in maintaining the stability of an ecosystem. For example, the deleterious growth of grasses is controlled by the herbivores. When one type of herbivore becomes extinct, another type increases in number and controls the vegetation. Then coming to its types, so food webs describe the relationships, links or connections among species in an ecosystem, but the relationships vary in their importance to energy flow and dynamics of species populations. Based on different ways in which species influence one another, Robert Penn proposed 3 types of food webs best explained in this slide. So first one is connectedness webs or topological food webs, which show feeding relationships among species portrayed as links in a food web. Then the second one is energy flow webs. Such food webs quantify energy flow from one species to another. Thickness of an arrow reflects the strength of the relationship. And the third one is functional webs or interaction food webs. They represent the importance of each species in maintaining the integrity of a community and reflect its influence on the growth rate of other species populations. Significance of the study of food webs. Food webs depict networks of trophic relationships in ecosystems. and provide complex yet tractable depictions of biodiversity, species interactions, and ecosystem structure and function. The study of food waves has today found the different applications in community and ecosystem ecology as described in this slide. So the first one is the fundamental purpose of food waves is to describe feeding relationships among species in a community. These are the direct interactions among species. Food waves can also be used to illustrate indirect interactions among species. Indirect interaction occurs when two species do not interact with each other directly, but influenced by a third species. For example, predation can reduce the abundance of a species and open up space for other species to colonize and persist. Next, patterns of energy flow through different ecosystems may differ markedly in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. Food waves can be used to reveal these differences visual in most terrestrial ecosystems with high standing biomass and relatively low harvest or primary production by herbivores. The detritus food chain is dominant in deep water aquatic ecosystems with their low standing biomass, rapid turnover of organisms, and high rate of harvest. The grazing food chain may be dominant. And next, food waves can be used to study bottom-up or top-down control of community structure. The structure of food waves suggests that productivity and abundance of populations at any given trophic level are controlled by the productivity and abundance of populations in the trophic level below them. This phenomenon is called bottom-up control. Top-down control occurs when the population density of a consumer can control that of its resource. For example, predator populations can control the abundance of prey species. Under top-down control, the abundance or biomass of lower trophic levels depends on effects from consumers at higher trophic levels. Then let's discuss about its limitations. Food webs are limited representations of real ecosystems as they necessarily aggregate many species into trophic species, which are functional group of species that have the same predators and prey in a food web. They thus illustrate a tiny portion of the complexity of real ecosystems. And food webs are associated with a specific habitat. For example, the food web of a lake, the food web of a forest, or the food web of a cave. Recent interest in landscape ecology and the ecology of metapopulations demands that we consider how adjacent habitats are ecologically connected. The food webs are generally considered static structures with fixed trophic connections among taxa. Many species, however, change their trophic connections seasonally or ontogenetically by changes in morphology or behavior. Many larger turtles and lizards, for example, switch from being carnivores as juveniles to herbivores as adults, yet remain in the same community. Such species are not covered by the food web. Again, many species with complex life cycles are obligate members of two or more food webs during their ontogeny. All frogs with free-living larvae change or metamorphosis from an aquatic omnivorous tadpoles to an amphibious carnivorous adults. Highly mobile species such as many large mammals, large marine fish, most birds, and the adults of many insects become elements in several food webs as they move freely among habitats or habitat patches. The next part is coming soon. Thank you.